I don't know if I should tell the story. I sat here beforehand thinking, do I do this? Don't I? Blah, blah. That was time for the second most depressing story of my life. Actually, I'm kidding. This is pretty good. And if anything, this is probably the most early 90s story I can think of off the top of my head, and it's 100% true. This actually happened. Part of why I want to tell the story is because it is kind of a funny story, and plus, I'm curious to see if anybody finds anything from it. So, as you've seen from the title, here is the story about when I was in an early 90s rap music video that I've never seen, but it has to exist somewhere. And this actually happened. And because this is in the early 90s, it all started with a video game competition. I want to say this story was probably 91 or 92. Springfield, Illinois used to have this event that would go on during the summer. I want to say it was usually in August over a weekend, and it was called Lincoln Fest. Now you'll just have to stick with me through all of this. Like, this has got a lot of different points to it, but you stay with me, it'll end in 90s rap music video. So Lincoln Fest was a weekend event that would happen in downtown Springfield, and it went on for a number of years. Eventually it was discontinued. I mean, it was basically an excuse for adults to block the roads in downtown Springfield and just drink in the streets and party. And granted, there is still stuff to this day that is more or less kind of the same thing. Whether it's like the Route 66 Mother Road Festival or like the Soho Music Festival and things like that. There's plenty of stuff we do now that is you just go in downtown Springfield and drink. Downtown Springfield is like 80% bar. Everyone who lives here is either now or has been a drinker. So, but anyway, I was like 10 or 11 or so when this story takes place. So I wasn't drinking quite yet. But there would be bands in downtown Springfield during Lincoln Fest, and again, drinking, and also like fair food, like corn dog stands. There would be rides too. There'd be like the Scrambler, maybe a Ferris wheel. I can't really remember that, but eventually it was discontinued, I think for budget reasons, sometime in the late 90s. So at one point, this was one of the Lincoln Fest, there was a video game competition. And it was just in like this random, fairly big tent somewhere downtown. I think there might be buildings where that was now, but anyway. So I'm pinpointing this somewhere around 91 because here's what you do. There was a bunch of TVs set up just on all of these makeshift tables, and it was Sega Genesis and Nintendo, the NES, and some TVs had Super Mario Brothers 1, and the others had Sonic the Hedgehog. I want to pinpoint it at about 91, or maybe even 92, because it was the first Sonic game. It wasn't the second one, and the second one came out in 92, and I don't remember if the second one was out by then. It maybe, but it was Sonic 1. But then again, I guess it could have been later, because it wasn't Mario 3 we were playing. It was the first Mario, and at this point there was plenty of Mario games they could have chose, but I want to say it was either 91 or 92. This is such a 91 and 92 story that this might as well have ended with holding up a newspaper and saying, Brad Rap is born. So I competed in this, and I think I played Super Mario Brothers, because while I was good at both games, I think I was probably a little bit better at Super Mario Brothers because I had more years on that game, whereas Sonic the Hedgehog was a lot more new then. So I remember just quickly going there, you paid this entry fee, and you played whatever game you wanted, whether it was one of those two. And I did really well. I moved on to the next level. And I don't remember what this video game competition was called. I don't think this was an official Nintendo or Sega contest because it involved both Sega and Nintendo. I could be wrong. I mean, maybe they did collaborate on some competitions back then, but in an era when they were really at war with each other, and here's a contest that's both systems, I don't think this was an official thing. Maybe, but anyway, there's your clues right there if you'd like to try to find out what this thing was called. So the next level of this competition wasn't on this particular day. It was a while later, maybe not a great while, but it was some weeks later. Like if you did really good at the one at Lincoln Fest, then you could be in the next part of the competition, which was held at our convention center in Springfield, the Prairie Capital Convention Center. And this had to have been, I think, like some weeks later, and I did well enough to enter this, so me and my mom went to it. And boy, do I remember this being a clusterfuck. Like, I told this story to Ed and Allison recently, and when I was trying to figure out the name of the competition and some other things, I texted my mom and was like, do you remember this happening? And my mom just writes back, yes, why? The reason she probably sounded frustrated, because this is probably bringing back a lot of frustrating memories, because to this day, this competition at the Prairie Capital Convention Center is one of the most ill-ran things that I could think of. There wasn't that many TVs there really to play, and it was mostly just a bunch of kids stuck there for like 5 or 6 hours. We had to get there in the morning, and it went like all afternoon to like mid-afternoon, I think. It got to the point where so many kids were so frustrated that they hadn't played anything yet that some were like crying and just wanted to go home. Like, fuck this. I can play video games at home and I don't have to wait 5 or 6 or 7 fucking hours. Like, everyone was really under the impression it would be kind of in and out. And it could have been in and out if they provided enough TVs and game systems, but they really didn't. So we were stuck waiting there for a while. And there was this guy who was a rapper, and I guess he was with this company that was putting on this show, and he was I remember him being a big dude, but I was little at the time, so I was shorter then than I am now. So maybe if I were to see him today, he wouldn't be as big as I remembered, but I remember him being a big guy. And he was a black dude and hair like, how would I even describe what his hair was like? Man, I don't know. It was just kind of like a little big and kind of curly on top, like it had a wet look to it. Like, it wasn't a big Jerry curl, but it was like, yeah, this guy is dressed like and could have been like a supporting character in House Party or something. That's what he looked like. But he seemed like he was maybe in his mid-30s. But again, I'm like 11 or so years old looking at him, so he might be younger than I remembered. And I remember he had a mustache, and again, like short hair, back and sides, a bit bigger on top, a little wet, a little curly. That's what he looked like. Multicolored vest, probably like silk shirt, maybe some Zubas. It's entirely possible he was wearing some Zubas. And I wish I could remember his name. I remember he had a table where he had headshots and he had signed CDs. I can picture the guy in my head, but his name, I remember it being one name, like a first name, but like a regular name, like maybe like Randy. The closest thing I can think of in my head is it might have been Randy. That's like, I remember when I was first recalling this some weeks ago when I was this is a story I hadn't thought of in a long time until I was telling it to Allison and Ed a few weeks ago. And I remember in my head I was going through like, was it like Maurice? Was it, no, not Brandy. Randy, maybe it was Randy. That is the closest thing I can think of in my head. And so we're all waiting there just simply to play games. We just want to get in and out. That's it. And so we're all in this hallway, we're waiting. It's like, oh. And then here comes Randy, like, I guess let's just call him Randy. Here comes Randy, and he says, yo, who wants to be in a video? And we're like, yeah, woo, not giving a shit. Like, yeah, we're pretending. We're like, woo, yeah, sure, let's fucking do this. You know, it's better than just sitting there and waiting on shit. Alright, let's be in Young MC's music video. Sure, why not? So, okay, I don't remember much about the details of this video, other than we all had to stand there in this, like, line dancing line, and he was in front of us, and there were rows of about, I don't know, maybe like 6 people per row, and maybe there was like 7 rows, maybe it was more than that, and maybe it was bigger, but he's in front, and he's like, when I give the word, you go, hey ho, because 90s. So they say action, and it was probably like a fucking camcorder. I do not remember any kind of big, elaborate camera equipment set up and boom mics or any. I don't remember any of that shit. I just barely fucking remember there being possibly a fucking camcorder, and we just said, hey ho, like we're doing the fucking wave at a sporting event, but it's an early 90s rap video. I don't remember the context much beyond that, or the content rather. I don't remember the content much beyond that, so if this was used in a music video, it was probably just a few seconds of footage, and I'm somewhere in there. Maybe towards the back and side, or maybe in the middle towards the side. So we're, like, frustrated, man. Like, this video thing, like, it lasted a while. Just standing there and doing that, waiting for him to record. Like, kids just wanted to leave, they wanted to play games, they just wanted to seriously, like, get the fuck out of there. What honestly brought me back to remembering this story is when me, Ed, and Allison were hanging out at a Goodwill in Champaign, Illinois. They had a tape there of, like, promoting, like, the Bulls in the early 90s, and there were a couple of music videos on there done by, like, yeah, this early 90s rap group, and one of the guys kind of reminded me of the dude a little bit, and that's kind of what triggered the memory in my head. And I even looked to see if, like, if this guy who's rapping about the Bulls is the same guy. Maybe this video game company is based out of Chicago. Maybe it was a Springfield thing. I don't know. I don't know if it was just strictly a Springfield thing or just the Midwest in general. But I don't think it was the same guy who was in this basketball thing. Eventually, we got to play as, like, time went on. Like, people were going stir crazy. They were, like, hungry, thirsty, starving. And eventually, we got to actually sit down and play a game for, like, a minute or 30 seconds. And I played Sonic. I remember playing Sonic the Hedgehog. And I remember not doing that well because I just went through, like, a day's worth of bullshit. And I got to be a fly girl for like 3 hours. So I remember just not doing well because I really wanted to go home. In fact, I was gonna play Super Mario Brothers because I was just better at that game at the time. Probably still better at it now, even though I can beat both of them. But Super Mario Brothers, you can beat that in like 8 minutes. Yeah, I was like, I don't even care what game I'm gonna play. Just put me in front of anything, I'll do it. And it was Sonic the Hedgehog, and I didn't do well enough to advance to, who knows, maybe advance to the next level. You go up to a convention center in Chicago, and you can be in a Kid and Play music video. Maybe I can be an extra in Class Act. That would have been kind of awesome. Actually, I wouldn't have minded that. So my mom and I remember us going home and not saying anything because we were burnt out this is how we spent our Saturday. And it was just a wave of disappointment. Like, because at the time when you're going to a video game competition, this is only a couple years after The Wizard. So you're picturing in your head, like, video Armageddon, you know, like, come up here, my beauties. Like, that creepy motherfucker would have been a step up. But you're picturing in your head, like, that's what it's gonna be like. Maybe we playing Ninja Gaiden or something, and then, oh, that Super Mario Brothers 4 is gonna be on the big board. But no, there's the sinking realization of we're stuck in this dark, dank hallway for like 6 or so hours. We do, like, you know, this music video from a character Jamie Foxx probably played on In Living Color. So we're doing that for several hours, and then, like, what, The Wizard lied. The Wizard lied to us. Video game competitions, that is not what that is like at all. Not in The Wizard, no. There was no people chasing us. We didn't go in the secret elevator that brought us down on the stage. We didn't go behind the ride at King Kong. That competition's total lie. I would have kicked ass at Mario Brothers 2, or Mario Brothers 3, or 2. That was the game we're playing. So it was just like this wave of disappointment. Me from the fact that that was not fun at all. And my mom because, like, she probably had a long week, you know, and this is how she's spending her Saturday with this bullshit. And I remember my mom being on the phone later on with one of her friends going like, oh, it was hell. Oh, it was a nightmare. We just wanted to play games. And then they made us do this fucking stupid music video. And then when I was texting my mom about it here recently, it was like the memory was kind of coming back too. And I was talking to her, I eventually was talking to her on the phone later that day, and I'm like, do you remember the guy's name? And she's like, I don't. She's like, I remember it was bullshit. She goes, I remember what he looked like. I remember the whole thing was the most ill put together thing I'd ever been to in my life. She's like, I remember that music video lasted forever. The whole thing was bullshit. She's like, I remember kids just crying because they wanted to go home, but they were held prisoner. So, if anyone can find this, maybe it's out there. I don't know what it was for. I don't know if it was just some tie-in video to go along with the company that put this contest together. I don't remember what the company was called. Like I said, like, it started out at Lincoln Fest in Springfield, Illinois in 91 or 92. At the latest, 93, I don't think as late as 94. I really don't. This is way too early 90s of a story. Like, this is like, it's like, no, it's impossible that Cool as Ice would have come out in 94. That is too early 90s. That's how this is. So, the most I can go on in this guy is like, he had a mustache, he was a bigger dude, he had the hair and everything, and I think his name was Randy. If anyone can find it, I'd love to see it, and I'd love to sit there and look to see if I'm in there in the background anywhere with all the bullshit I went through that day. I fucking better be in the background of that fucking thing somewhere. Randy, rapping Randy in his ass, singing about, I don't know, like, I don't even remember him singing about games. I just remember us doing some chorus that didn't make any sense. Like, check one, mic check, check 1, 2, turtles, awesome. Like, maybe that's the fucking video I was in. I don't think it was Kid K. I don't think it was, I would have remembered that. Yeah, that's, I've led an interesting life. I have other stories. Like, I have other stories I could say. I could do Once Upon a Time when I directed a porn in Long Beach, California. I could do that. But I decided to start with, I decided to continue on with Once Upon a Time when I was in an early 90s rap music video. So, happy hunting on that. I hope you turn something up because I want to find out what this was fucking for. I want to know the context of this music video. I want to remember the guy's name. I want to know the video game company. I want to know if this was released on VHS and distributed around to... did this just show randomly at video game contests on the TVs in the background? Alright, so that's my story. That's, thanks for listening to me ramble about this. I hope you enjoyed it. I promise you, even if you didn't like this story, it's better listening to this than actually going through the goddamn thing. See ya.